inventory management in Minecraft. If you're like me, that phrase just now induced a slight cringe, or an eye roll, or some other sort of negative feeling. Let's review a state of affairs relevant to this episode while the Graver travels to our destination. All of the time, Minecraft developer Mojang is hard at work adding new blocks and items to the game, which is, of course, really fantastic. However, rarely do we see addressed the increasingly apparent crux of limitations on inventory space and organization. In November of 2016, the situation improved slightly when the Shulker box was introduced with Minecraft's Exploration update. Now, players are able to carry multiple chests worth of items anywhere they go, as long as they get a hold of those valuable Shulker boxes, which are typically an in-game item. As with any new feature added to Minecraft, however, there are a few trade-offs here. Now that we've arrived, I'll let the Degraver demonstrate these problems for us. So don't get me wrong, Shulker boxes are great. They're a portable storage container that allow you to take many more items with you anywhere you go. But with them comes a few new problems that we need to troubleshoot for. For example, if you're carrying around a lot of Shulker boxes, whenever you want to access the Shulker boxes, that means a lot of manual placing and picking up of said Shulker boxes. So for instance, if organization isn't perfect and we're unsure which Shulker box has the item we want, many boxes will need to be searched, so it's inevitable that we're going to need to place down many at a time and look through them until we find just what we want. Another limitation and kind of problem with Shulker boxes is that each time we pick up a Shulker box, we must mine it. And unfortunately, that sacrifices the durability, the precious durability of our pickaxes when we have to mine those Shulker boxes. So every time we pick them up, we're using a little bit more durability of our pickaxes. Now, it's not a lot, but it's enough to be an issue with enough repetition. Additionally, if your inventory is like mine, it often looks like this. You've got all kinds of things taking up space in it, and barely enough space for your Shulker boxes. So that is a problem too. Making space for multiple Shulker boxes in your inventory can be severely inconvenient, especially when you say are wanting to gather a lot of resources at one time, yet have the convenience of having all your Shulker boxes with you. Now, this problem is partially alleviated by using a ender chest, if you have one. If you have access to an ender chest, and especially if you have a pickaxe with silk touch on it, you can keep an ender chest with you at all times. Place it down whenever you want to access your Shulker boxes, and keep your Shulker boxes themselves in the ender chest, so that anytime you want to access them, you just open up your ender chest, and there they are. Then you can place them down. This isn't rocket science. It's pretty easy for anyone to figure this out, and it is a nice trick to have, especially if you have access to the resources, which honestly, by the time you have a Shulker box, you'll have an ender chest, or at least the resources to make one, and then the only thing you have to go out of your way for is that silk touch pick, so that you can pick up your ender chest at any time without breaking it into obsidian blocks and losing your eye of ender. So that helps. However, space must still be made in our inventory anytime we want to place Shulker boxes in the world to access their contents. So even if we've consolidated them all to this ender chest, if we are out on a loot run and we have mostly filled up our inventory and we want to access some of our Shulker boxes, well, that becomes a problem, right? You place down your ender chest, you've got your Shulker boxes in here, but your inventory spaces are limited. So you can only place, maybe 0. You might not have any free space at all. You might have to temporarily drop some items on the ground, or, maybe you can only place 2 at a time, and then you have to kind of juggle your inventory a little bit in order to access multiple Shulker boxes. So there's that problem as well, even when you're using an ender chest to keep the space that the shulker boxes take up in your inventory down. You know, we're talking minor inconveniences for the additional storage space that we get, but why not try to troubleshoot and problem solve these issues? Now there's finally one more issue that I'm sure many of you who have gotten into the habit of using shulker boxes have come upon, and that's that we always have to find or designate a place in the world to place our shulker boxes anytime we want to access them. So, you know, if we're doing the ender chest solution here, we let's say we get to our destination and we want to access our shulker boxes. Well, we have to figure out, okay, where do I want to place my ender chest, and then which shulker boxes do I need access to? I can only do 2 at a time. I guess I'll put them right here, unless it's a place you come back to often. Maybe you'll have a space set aside for all your multiple shulker boxes. But so, and then we'll be, okay, so this is where I'm gonna put them, and then, alright, great. Get what I need out of these. And then when you're ready to go, you're done working in this area. You know, maybe you ran out of space and you accidentally put one, or not necessarily accidentally, but you put another shulker box somewhere less in view, a little harder to remember. So you think you got all your shulker boxes and put them in your ender chest. Like, all right, we are ready to go. Let's go to our next destination. Well, now you've left behind your ever important diamond blue shulker box, and apparently one of the yellow ones as well. And you know, that's an issue at that point, because when you get to your destination, maybe something crucial to your operations at your next destination were within that shulker box. So by having to put down multiple shulker boxes in non-designated spaces, we leave ourselves prone to error, and the error of accidentally forgetting to take those important shulker boxes with us when we need them most. So those are the main problems with inventory management with shulker boxes. You know, shulker boxes add some absolutely great features and functionality to our everyday Minecrafting lives, but there are definitely some problems that we can solve for. I'll have the degraver show us around to the Shulker cycler. Now this is a relatively easy to build contraption that pretty much solves, or does its best to solve, all of those issues we just discussed with shulker boxes. So the idea is that with the Shulker cycler, you're going to install one of these anywhere that you visit frequently and need to access your shulker boxes. So that can be a current project site, it can be your home base, your house, anywhere in Minecraft where you're going to use shulker boxes frequently and you want to be able to access them but not leave them behind. So how the Shulker cycler tackles these issues is that you've got, basically the idea is that it's going to be wedged into a wall or a corner of your house, kind of like this. So you come up to the Shulker cycler and you've got your ender chest here. So this is assuming that you work with ender chests to store your shulker boxes. So this already is alleviating one step of the process. Still great to have an ender chest with you at all times in case you do have need to emergency access your shulker boxes, but hey, if you have these installed everywhere you need to access your shulker boxes, then you can save that inventory space, use it for something else. Alternatively, or additionally, we also do not need to bother with placing down the ender chest. We've already got one here for us. So in the ender chest, we've got our shulker boxes. Now, we can pick and choose each one of the shulker boxes we want to look through one by one, and then just toss them out of the chest. So there's problem solved number 2. You don't have to worry about clearing extra inventory space that you have, or that you may or may not have, to get these shulker boxes on the ground. You can just drop them straight out of your ender chest, and instantly the first one that you added is placed. So now you can look through the first shulker box, and presumably if you do have a full inventory like this, then the first shulker box you dropped out of your ender chest is going to be one where you want to put some of those resources, right? So then you are clearing some inventory space for yourself right away. So that solves two of our major problems. The ender chest, having to place that down, and also having to make space for your shulker boxes before you can actually access their contents. Now, the last big problem that this really solves is having to waste pickaxe durability on getting these shulker boxes back into your inventory and into your ender chest. So how it does that is basically, if you see this note block back here behind our ender chest, it functions as a button. So if you right click the note block, it automatically pops off the shulker box that you were accessing, and if you have inventory space, it'll pop it straight into your inventory. If you don't worry about it too much. What you can do is just say clear an inventory space and then click that space again to get that shulker box back into your ender chest. So that instantly gives us our shulker box back without having to waste any pickaxe durability. Now you might have also noticed it also rezzed or placed our next shulker box. So now our next shulker box in the lineup has been placed and we can access that one. And so the cycle continues. Done with that one, we can access the next. Done with that one, we can access the next, so on and so forth. Now again, like I was saying, if your inventory space gets full, don't worry, you'll have your shulker boxes nearby. Just click them into your ender chest like that. As you may know, a feature of dispensers, which this uses to place your shulker boxes, is that they randomize their contents. So a unfortunate side effect of that is that the shulker boxes aren't going to appear in the exact order that you drop them into the ender chest, but you can at least have comfort in knowing that the first one that you placed, or rather the first one that you dropped from your ender chest, is going to be the first one that places, simply by the way of things in the order that it all happens in. I'll just get rid of the rest of my shulker boxes here, get them back into my ender chest. And oh, almost tried to break that one. It doesn't matter if you do, you can. If you really want to, you can break it with your pickaxe, but why do that when you can save durability? Alright, so that's it. That's the shulker cycler, and that's what it does. So it's quick to build. You can put up to 14 shulker boxes in there at once and kind of cycle through them. 15 really, if you think about the fact that the first shulker box you place gets instantly, or a drop gets instantly placed into the world. It's possible to do more by adding hoppers. So something we could do, and I'll kind of jump into creative mode so that I can show this to you, is we can add a bit more hoppers here. So we can add a hopper here, and that'll give us 5 extra spaces. So now we can do 20 at a time. And then you can chain hoppers in basically any other direction. It starts to become less convenient after that because it's not going to be necessarily picked up from dropping it out of the ender chest, but it will be extra space for you to potentially store your shulker boxes. And this is what I was talking about with the full inventory. You just kind of do a double click there and get it in. Alright, so it's auto places the shulker boxes. It's easy and indiscreet. One-click method to itemize the current box and place it to a new one. You just hit that note block. If you don't want the note block to make sound, just put a block on top of it, and it won't make any more sound, but it'll still function. Okay, so how do we feel about the shulker cycler? Does it sound good? Sound like something that we want to build in our world, put in multiple places? I've got good news. It's not too hard to build, and there aren't too many different elements. So let me show you what you'll need to get your shulker cycler into place here. So here is a wall of items that you will need to make your shulker cycler work. This does exclude just standard block placement. So for example, each of these sandstone blocks that are down here in the construction of the shulker cycler, those are not taken into account. It is largely assumed that you're going to be mining out a space for your shulker cycler. So go ahead, and if you want, you can pause the video or take a screenshot and know that this is the items that you need in order to build the shulker cycler. So we've got these ones in diamonds. These are our base elements. This is everything we need to craft the rest of what we need. Below, we've got the items that we need to craft. So first, these items with the gold blocks are part of some of our existing recipes, or some of our other recipes down the line. So first you want to craft what's in gold. So you'll craft a bow, or you can just use one from a skeleton that happened to drop one. Craft a chest and craft 10 redstone torches. Now, only 7 of those redstone torches will be used in our recipes further down the line, so that means that you will have 3 left over for the rest of the build. Finally, the blocks or items on iron blocks are the final ones that we need to craft. So you need 2 redstone repeaters, 1 redstone comparator, a hopper, an observer block, 2 of them, make that, and then potentially more hoppers if you want that extra storage capacity there. But finally, then we have the dispenser, and finally the piston or sticky piston. Now let me explain the piston a little bit. Now, sticky piston makes it nice because the sticky piston helps you to conceal the fact that it is a shulker cycler. If you want, the only block in your wall that actually has to be visible and stand out would be the note block itself. So if we say we wanted our wall to be, let me try that again. Say we wanted our wall to be this wood, then we can place down a bunch of wood, and we can actually make the block that pushes our shulker boxes and itemizes them. We can just turn that into a standard wood block, and it doesn't have to stand out at all. Then we just right click the note block and it pops out. Nice. So that's the nice thing about using a sticky piston. It makes it easy to camouflage the mechanism. Now, if you don't have access to slime, because I realize that in survival, a slime ball is not the easiest thing to get a hold of, especially if you haven't made a slime farm yet, or you haven't found any swamps or slime chunks. You can make this with a standard piston. And let me show you what that looks like. So if you want to make it with a standard piston, then instead of having the sticky piston back here, what you can do is put the standard piston there, and then we need a solid block directly behind it. So if we put the solid block there, then it's going to function just the same as it did before. So hit the note block, pops it off, works great. Yeah, you can do that if you want to. Now just keep in mind that this also has some caveats and some good sides to it. So the good sides are that you can choose whatever block you put behind that piston. It can be something that blends in better. So maybe you want to make it like some sort of outdoor hutch on the back of your house if this area is exposed. If you're worried about what it looks like on the outside, then maybe this is the best choice for you, because this is what it looks like on the inside. Not too bad, right? So you can better conceal your piston if you do this. But then again, the drawback is that you can't camouflage the inside. So if you don't have anything on the other side of the wall, you might want to consider using a sticky piston if you have access to one. we know we want to build the shulker cycler. We know what it takes to build the shulker cycler. Now we just need to figure out where we want to build the shulker cycler. As I mentioned earlier, I recommend using a space inside your base or house or somewhere that you're going to be visiting often. And of course, you may want to consider building multiple for multiple different places that you do spend a lot of time at. For this example, I'm just going to use this space that I've prepared here, kind of mimicking a cross-section of a house where this is the inside and this is the outside. So to start with our first layer here, I'm going to go ahead and get some of the objects that we need in order to craft the shulker cycler properly. I'm going to want something that mimics the wall material, so I'm going to use a spruce log. I will also want each of these items, so repeater, comparator, hopper, observer, dispenser, and bucket. And we will also need redstone torches and redstone as well. I'll be able to get the spruce log whenever I need it, so I'll go ahead and grab this redstone torch. So if this is the space that we want our shulker cycler to be in, what we need to clear out is a 2x4 space. So let's go ahead and break the space where we're going to need to build this. And you can kind of see it here. I've already got it lined up. But this is the space we're going to be kind of working in here. Is everything around here. Now you also want to go 3 blocks deep. So we're going to take this and go down 1 more block and then 1 more block. So that's a total of 3 blocks deep. So that I can get out of here for now, I'm just going to build myself a little path up. Okay. So this is how you're going to start out building your shulker cycler. Some of the first things you want to put down. As you may recall, that was just, that's not a mandatory hopper there. So we want our first dispenser to be facing up. So we can go ahead and place that. And then we want to figure out where we want our ender chest as well. So it'll be a hopper facing into that dispenser. And then we'll go ahead and place down our ender chest. So that gives us a frame of reference for where we want to build everything else. Now we'll do the rest in layers here. So we're going to start at layer 1, or the bottom layer. So now I'm at the outside, from the outside looking in toward the shulker cycler and where we're going to be accessing it from. So for layer 1, what we need is a block here, here, and here. Now you're going to want to put redstone dust in these 2 positions. You're going to want a redstone repeater here, and make sure that you increase its tick speed, or rather slow its tick speed to that position. There are, let's see, 4 total positions for this second redstone torch to be in for the repeater. Make sure it's in this second position. Finally, we need a redstone torch on this block that is directly beneath, or rather 1 block beneath the dispenser. Now, on to step 2. For layer 2, we're going to put 1 block directly on top of the torch. You should hear your dispenser click there. We're going to hold shift and place a block directly on top of this redstone repeater. And then we're going to place 1 more block on top of this redstone dust. Now we need a redstone repeater facing toward the block we just placed. And again, we want to increase the delay to the second position. Finally, we want to put a redstone torch on the other side of the block that repeater is pointing into. And that's it for layer number 2. Now, for layer number 3, things get a little bit complicated. Now what we need to do is actually to break this redstone dust for a moment and also break the block below it. Have your observers in hand and we're going to place one against this block here. So that was directly behind the hopper. And then we also need one right up against this block here, which is right behind the block underneath the dispenser. If you place those correctly, you should be able to see their faces from the top. Alright, so from there, we have our next layer that we can go ahead and create, which is going to be a block on top of that torch. We will also have a torch right here. We need a comparator facing away from the dispenser, like so. And that is all for that layer. Now finally we have our top layer here, which is going to be pretty simple. We want to come in from the inside and place a sticky piston directly on top of this torch, or as we discussed before, if you don't have a sticky piston and just want to use a regular piston, we can place a solid block on top of that torch and your regular piston in front of it. But for this design, we'll go ahead and place that sticky piston down, and then we want to place the block that the piston is going to push. So you can either completely camouflage it if you like, or I like to point out the style a little bit more, so I'm going to actually give my log a rotation here so that you get the idea that it's going to be moving out in this direction. Finally, we need the note block, which I actually did miss putting on the silver section up there. But the note block then goes directly next to your wall block that gets pushed by the piston. So note block gets put there, and there we have it. This is our functional Shulker cycler. At this point, feel free to camouflage the Shulker cycler itself. In my case, if I were you, I might recommend, say, putting some dirt blocks, letting grass grow over them, like so. Of course, you want to fill in your wall again. And then you might want to also camouflage some of the stuff out here. So maybe, oh, I don't know, you could make it like a small sort of shed type of thing. I don't know, you can have fun with it. Whatever you need to do, or if this side of your wall is not exposed to anything, then feel free to leave it however you feel works best for you. But that's it. That's all there is to building the Shulker cycler. Again, I'll demonstrate that it functions. You put the Shulker box in there, right click the note block, and I missed something. And that's it. That's all there is to building the Shulker cycler. Rinse and repeat as many times as you need to build all the Shulker cyclers in your world. That will help you keep track of your Shulker boxes. Thanks for tuning in and watching the Degraver and I work magic on another Minecraft tech novelty. If you're interested in any other material that you'd like me to cover, or anything you'd like me to create, feel free to drop a like or a comment in the section below. If you liked what you see and want to see more, I would encourage you to subscribe as well, because I do plan to release more content in the future. This has been Revo and the Degraver, signing out.